The sun was just beginning to rise over the quiet countryside when the farmer stepped out of his modest wooden house, boots crunching against the gravel. He had done this same routine every morning for decades: feed the animals, check the fields, fix whatever had broken overnight. To anyone passing by, he looked like an ordinary man with rough hands, faded clothes, and a life that moved slowly with the seasons. What no one could see at first glance was the depth of patience in his eyes, or the strength built from years of honest work. And on this particular morning, his calm world was about to collide with arrogance in a way no one could have predicted. Just a few miles away, a luxury SUV sped down the country road, completely out of place among tractors and hay trucks. Inside was a rich businessman, dressed sharply, phone pressed to his ear, laughing loudly as he talked about profits, deals, and how he hated wasting time in backward places. He was on his way to inspect land he planned to buy, land he believed would make him even richer. To him, the countryside was nothing more than unused space waiting to be exploited. As the SUV turned sharply, the driver misjudged the narrow road. The tires skidded, dust flew into the air, and with a loud thud, the vehicle came to a stop right beside the farmer's fence. The farmer looked up from his work, surprised by the noise. He walked slowly toward the road, concern written on his face. The rich man stepped out of the SUV, annoyed, brushing dust from his expensive jacket. "Watch where you're standing," the man snapped, looking the farmer up and down. "These roads are terrible. No wonder people like you never get anywhere." In life, the farmer said nothing at first. He simply nodded and asked calmly if the man was hurt or needed help. That question only seemed to irritate the rich man more. "Help," he scoffed. "What could someone like you possibly help me with? Go back to your animals. This is none of your business." A few farmhands nearby paused their work, sensing tension. The farmer took a step back, not offended, just quietly observant. He had seen many types of people come and go over the years. Prideful ones usually revealed themselves quickly. The rich man continued, his voice dripping with mockery. He joked about the farmer's old clothes, his small house, and his simple life. He laughed loudly, making sure everyone around could hear. "Some people are born to succeed," he said. "Others are born to stay exactly where they are." The farmer listened, his expression unchanged. When the man finally finished, the farmer spoke softly. He said that land, like people, had a way of teaching lessons, sometimes quickly, sometimes painfully. The rich man laughed again, waved dismissively, and got back into his SUV. Speeding off toward the far end of the fields, what he didn't realize was that the road ahead was far worse than the one he had just complained about. Hours passed. The sun climbed higher, the air growing heavy and hot. The farmer continued his work, repairing a broken water pipe near the edge of his land. In the distance, a faint sound echoed across the fields. At first, it was barely noticeable. Then it grew louder, shouting panic, a horn blaring over and over. The farmer stood still, listening carefully. He recognized the direction immediately. It was coming from the old dirt road that cut through the far side of the land, a road locals avoided after heavy rains. Without hesitation, the farmer grabbed his hat and started walking toward the noise. Meanwhile, the rich man's confidence had completely vanished. His SUV was stuck deep in thick mud, wheels spinning uselessly. He had ignored warning signs, thinking they didn't apply to him. His phone had no signal. The engine was overheating. Each attempt to free the vehicle only made it sink deeper. Sweat soaked through his expensive shirt as panic set in. He shouted for help, his voice cracking. The vast open land that once seemed empty now felt terrifyingly silent. He tried pushing the car himself, slipping and falling into the mud. His laughter from earlier echoed painfully in his memory. As the farmer approached, he saw the scene clearly. The same man who had mocked him now looked small, exhausted, and afraid. The farmer stopped a few feet away, taking in the situation. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The rich man looked up, eyes wide with desperation. "Please," he said. Finally, his voice shaking. I need help. I'm stuck out here. I can't get out." The farmer studied the mud, the angle of the car, the sky above. He knew this land better than anyone. He knew how dangerous it could become if the weather changed. He also knew exactly what to do. But instead of acting immediately, he asked, A simple question. Do you still think I can't help you? The rich man swallowed hard. His pride crumbled in that instant. He shook his head slowly. No, he whispered. I was wrong, I'm sorry. Please help me. The farmer nodded once. He told the man to calm down, to stop trying to force the car, and to follow his instructions carefully. He walked back toward his barn to get the tractor, the same tractor the rich man would have laughed at earlier. As the farmer disappeared into the distance, the rich man stood alone again, staring at the muddy ground, realizing how quickly power and money meant nothing out here. And as the tractor engine finally roared to life far away, the rich man understood something he had never considered before. This wasn't just about being stuck in mud. This was about being stuck in his own arrogance, and he had no idea how much this lesson was going to cost him before the day was over. The sound of the tractor grew louder as it slowly made its way across the field. Cutting through the stillness of the afternoon, the rich man watched it approach, his heart pounding with a mix of relief and shame. Just hours ago, he had laughed at this very life, this very work. Now that old tractor was the only thing standing between him and being stranded overnight in the middle of nowhere. The farmer stopped the tractor a short distance away and climbed down carefully. He didn't rush, he didn't lecture. His movements were steady and practiced, the kind that came from years of solving real problems without panic. He walked around the SUV, inspecting the wheels, the depth of the mud, and the slope of the ground. The rich man followed him nervously, trying to explain himself, talking too much as people often do when they're scared. I didn't see the signs, he said quickly. I thought the road would hold. I've driven through worse. I just need to get back before dark. I have meetings, important people waiting. The farmer listened, but didn't respond right away. He crouched down, pressed his hand into the mud, and stood back up. His face tightened slightly. This ground looks dry on top, he finally said, but it's soft underneath. The more you spin the wheels, the deeper you sink. The rich man nodded rapidly, agreeing with everything now. I won't touch it again, I promise. The farmer went back to the tractor and pulled out a thick chain, worn but strong. As he worked, the rich man stood awkwardly to the side, unsure whether to help or stay out of the way. Every clink of metal against metal seemed louder than it should have been. The sun was beginning to lower, casting long shadows across the field. When the chain was secured, the farmer looked at the man and gave clear instructions. When I signal, put the car in neutral. Don't accelerate. Let the tractor do the work. Yes, of course, the man said almost eagerly. The tractor began to pull, slowly at first. The chain tightened. The SUV jerked slightly, then sank again. The farmer stopped immediately. He raised a hand, signaling the man to stop everything. He walked back, adjusted the chain, placed wooden planks under the tires, and took a deep breath. This won't work if you don't trust me, he said calmly. The words hit harder than any insult. The rich man nodded silently, his face flushed. For the first time in a long while, he wasn't in control, and it scared him. The tractor pulled again. This time, with a loud sucking sound, the SUV began to move. Inch by inch, the wheels lifted from the mud. The rich man held his breath, gripping the steering wheel so tightly his knuckles turned white. With one final pull, the car came free, rolling onto firmer ground. It was over. The rich man stumbled out of the car, almost collapsing with relief. Thank you, he said, his voice breaking. You have no idea. Thank you. The farmer nodded, wiping sweat from his brow. You should leave before the light fades, he said. This land changes fast. The rich man hesitated. He reached into his pocket and pulled out his wallet, flipping it open. He took out several bills and held them out. Please, he said, take this for your trouble. The farmer looked at the money, then back at the man. He didn't take it right away. I didn't help you for money, he said quietly. The rich man froze. He hadn't expected that. Then what can I do? He asked. The farmer thought for a moment. Next time you see someone like me, he said, don't assume you know their worth. The silence that followed was heavy. The rich man slowly lowered his hand, tucking the money back into his wallet. His eyes dropped to the ground. You're right, he said. I was cruel. I thought success made me better than others. Today proved how wrong I was. The farmer gave a small nod, as if that was all he needed to hear. He climbed back onto the tractor and started the engine. Before driving away, he paused and looked back. "Safe travels," he said, as the tractor disappeared into the fields. The rich man stood alone beside his SUV, but something inside him had shifted. The road ahead no longer felt like a path to opportunity. It felt like a reminder. He drove slowly this time, carefully following the main road. His phone buzzed again, filling with missed calls and messages. He ignored them. His mind was elsewhere. Every fence, every field, every farmhouse he passed seemed different now. Not small, not insignificant, just different from the world he thought mattered. That night, in a luxury hotel miles away, he couldn't sleep. The image of the farmer's calm face replayed in his mind. The words echoed again and again. "Trust me, don't assume you know their worth." The next morning, he canceled his land inspection. Instead, he returned to the countryside. When he reached the farm, the farmer was already at work, just as he had been the day before. The rich man parked his car and stepped out. No suit this time, no phone in hand. "I came to apologize properly," he said. "Not because you helped me, but because I disrespected you." The farmer listened. Leaning on his tools, the rich man continued, speaking slowly, choosing his words carefully. He talked about how he had built his life, chasing numbers, status, and control. How easy it was to forget that real strength didn't always wear expensive clothes. "I don't expect forgiveness," he said. "I just needed you to know. Yesterday changed me." The farmer studied him for a long moment. Then he nodded. "Change only matters if it lasts," he said. Those words stayed with the rich man as he drove away again. He didn't know yet how, but he knew one thing for certain: the lesson he learned in that muddy field wasn't finished. And the true cost of his arrogance was still waiting to be paid. Weeks passed, but the memory of that muddy field never left the rich man's mind. No matter how busy his schedule became, no matter how many meetings he attended or deals he closed, the farmer's calm voice and steady eyes followed him everywhere. At first he tried to ignore it, convincing himself it was just a strange, uncomfortable experience. But deep down, he knew something inside him had cracked open, and it refused to close. He began to notice things he had never paid attention to before. The people who cleaned his office late at night, the drivers stuck in traffic beside him, the workers whose hands were worn and faces tired, yet who kept moving forward without complaint. For the first time, he wondered how many of them he had unknowingly mocked with his silence, his impatience, his belief that money made him superior. One evening, after another long day, he found himself driving without a destination. Almost without realizing it, his car turned onto the familiar road leading back toward the countryside. The city lights faded behind him as fields and open land stretched out ahead. When he reached the farmer's land again, the sun was setting, painting the sky in soft orange and gold. The farmer was repairing a fence when he noticed the car approach. He straightened slowly, recognizing the man almost immediately. This time, there was no tension, no fear, no arrogance in the air. Just quiet. "I hope I'm not disturbing you," the rich man said as he stepped out. "You're not," the farmer replied. "What brings you back?" The rich man took a deep breath. "I couldn't stop thinking about what you said, about worth, about change." He paused, searching for the right words. "I've spent my life taking from places like this, buying land, pushing people out, calling it progress." The farmer leaned against the fence, listening. "I want to do something different," the man continued. "Not for publicity, not to feel better about myself. I want to fix something I helped break." The farmer studied him carefully. "Words are easy," he said. "This land has heard many promises." "I know," the man replied quickly. "That's why I didn't come with a plan. I came to ask." The farmer looked out across his fields, silent for a long moment. Then he pointed toward a section of land near the far trees. "That area floods every year, ruins crops. People with money said draining it wasn't profitable. They were right, but it could be restored. Help the soil, help the animals, help the families nearby." The rich man followed his gaze. "Tell me what it would take." And for the first time, the farmer smiled faintly. What followed was not quick, and it was not easy. The rich man funded restoration work, but more importantly, he showed up. He learned. He listened. He got his hands dirty. The farmer taught him how the land breathed, how water moved beneath the surface, how rushing things always led to damage. At first, the rich man struggled. His body wasn't used to physical labor. His mind wasn't used to patience. But he didn't quit. Neighbors noticed, word spread, not about his wealth, but about his presence. About the man who once mocked a farmer and now worked beside him without complaint. The same people who had once been wary slowly opened up. Conversations replaced suspicion. Months later, the flooded land bloomed again. Birds returned. Crops grew stronger. The change was visible, undeniable. But the greatest transformation wasn't in the soil. It was in the man who had once believed success gave him the right to look down on others. One afternoon, as they stood watching the field sway in the wind, the rich man spoke softly. "If you hadn't helped me that day, if you had turned away, I don't know who I'd be now." The farmer nodded. "Everyone gets stuck somewhere," he said. "Most never realize it." The rich man swallowed. "I was stuck long before the mud." The farmer placed a hand on the fence, and "Now, I'm still learning," the man said. "But at least now I know where to stand." As the sun dipped below the horizon, the two men stood side by side, no longer separated by wealth or status, only connected by respect. The rich man finally understood something that money had never taught him. Power fades, pride collapses, but humility builds something that lasts. And far away, on a quiet road where arrogance once sped forward without looking, the land rested peacefully, having taught its lesson well.